I'm Jay Morgan, your local Farmers Insurance Advisor with life, auto, home, commercial, and financial services. I'm in the business of protecting what matters to you the most. Call me at 352-0202 for a free consultation and peace of mind.
Hundreds of homes evacuated and intense fire lines surrounding parts of Harriman. Dozens of fire crews on alert tonight as a fast-moving wildfire spreads through the area. And tonight, Harriman's mayor has declared a state of emergency. This fire started at Camp Williams about 3:30 today and in several hours has grown out of control.
We've had crews on the scene all night and have team coverage. Nicole Gonzalez has talked to some of the people who have been evacuated, but we begin with John Hollenhorst, who has the latest on the spread of this fast-moving fire. John.
Well, it is clear now that a major disaster has unfolded over the last couple of hours. We can't tell you how many homes have burned, but we know a number of them have. Unified Fire now estimating 10 to 15 homes. You can see 2 or 3 of them way out there on the other side of Harriman. Those are the hills, the foothills on the south end of Harriman. Expensive homes in this area, and we think perhaps a dozen of them have burned up tonight because of this wildfire. Now, it did begin sometime this afternoon on Camp Williams property, and at that time, the county fire people and Harriman City swung into action with bulldozers trying to create fire breaks. They were trying to defend against a fire that was pushed by very powerful winds up to 50, maybe 55 miles an hour, and that was a big factor according to the Unified Fire Authority.
But because of the wind, Gus, we are getting embers that are being blown, a couple hundred feet that can start spot fires.
Now, that fire, as we say, started on Camp Williams property. The exact circumstances, we don't know yet, but Camp Williams authorities tell us that it began on a machine gun training range, possibly a bullet striking something that created a spark. We're not sure. They say they were not using tracer rounds, which would be a fire hazard, but evidently something caused a fire on that machine gun training range. They do have rules about when to use the machine gun fire in the situation like we have today, but it's under investigation why that didn't work, according to Colonel Hank McIntyre.
With the wind the way it is today, conditions can change very quickly. So if the unit had the green light to train, but then the conditions change, that's what we're trying to find out.
Now, at least 1,200 homes have been under a mandatory evacuation the last couple of hours. That's in this area to the south of 140-200 south. We don't know how many people are involved, but you have to guess it's probably 5,000, 10,000 that have been chased out of this area. Now, with me is Joshua Bennett, a resident of the area who's been walking around through some of the fire areas. What have you seen, Joshua? How scary?
It's been actually pretty dang frightening for me. I've seen at least 3-4 homes burn down, completely collapse. Just over there, a propane tank, explode, stuff like that.
That fire, what did it look like when it was at its most intense?
Basically hell, just uncontrolled, no stopping.
All right, thanks, Joshua Bennett. And we should say that the winds have not let up much. Now, every once in a while I get the feeling maybe it's letting up, but it's been a very strong, gusty wind arrangement here since mid-afternoon, and that's been really tough for these firefighters trying to do anything to protect these homes. They've had a big effort out there, at least 100 firefighters. We're not sure the exact numbers, but it's clearly not been enough to prevent a major disaster. Back to you.
John, you just talked to Joshua there. You've probably run into some other folks out there. What's their mood? Are they panicked? Are they calm? What's the feeling as you've been walking around out there?
I have not seen anything that struck me as panic, but it's been a matter of great concern. People worried about their pets and their horses. We've seen a lot of horses being evacuated. People from outside the area trying to get to homes where their loved ones are, or perhaps where their loved ones have gone away, and they're trying to see what they can do to get in and help. Of course, the firefighters have a huge safety issue on their hands. They don't want people coming in here. They've asked people to stay out of the area, to get out of the area, to stay off the roads, to stay off their cell phones, because the cell phone network has been completely jammed. Our cell phones have been almost worthless all evening. And so the fire authorities have a tough problem. The people have a tough problem, and it's going to be tomorrow morning before we really know how big and bad this problem became. Back to you.
John, I know you're contained in a specific area, but how are firefighters attacking this blaze? Are you aware of how they're going about fighting it?
Well, the main effort earlier was to try to defend the residential locations by creating fire breaks. But the problem was the wind was so powerful that the fire would overwhelm the fire breaks. There was a natural fire break they thought at first might contain this blaze, but the winds push embers out over those fire breaks and start new fires. We saw that happening on the slope just immediately to the south of Harriman. We saw a number of small fires just blow up into big ones, and we assumed that those were embers blowing downwind. So been a very tough problem for firefighters. You'd hope that as they get it right around the homes that they'd be able to get water on the fire, but boy, when it's flames that we saw that were perhaps 100 feet high, what are you going to do?
John, behind you we see just car after car and horse trailer after horse trailer going by. It's a constant stream of traffic as people are just getting out of there.
Yes, although that stream has definitely let up in the last hour, I assume, because most people are out. Most of the horses are out. The roads here were just absolutely nightmarishly jammed for a couple of hours earlier in the evening, but it's cleared up, so I think the evacuees are mostly gone.
Now, we're looking at a picture of the flames. Are they still as high as they were earlier this evening, or are they somewhat controlled?
Well, from our limited view here, because we are blocked from getting right to the location where the battle is underway, we can't really tell. We are not seeing as much fire as we did a couple of hours ago, but that may be because we just can't see it from where we are. The intensity of the fire was incredible a couple of hours ago. It doesn't look that way to me now, but I can't see it all. And the fire has divided into a number of fronts, and there could be some hot spots that we're not seeing.
Okay, thanks, John. We'll check back in with you a little bit later in the newscast.
As John mentioned, thousands of homes have been evacuated.
Nicole Gonzalez picks up our team coverage. Nicole.
Yes, we're at the intersection of 134 South Rose Canyon, and you can see behind me this intersection has been jammed for most of the night, but right now it's starting to let up. You can see a few patrols are still guarding the area, making sure no one goes back towards the mountain, and I'll show you heading this way. You can see some of the flames from our vantage point right now, and you can also just see how deserted the streets are. Like John said, most of the people have been evacuated at this point, and we're hearing from a unified officer here on scene that many homes have been burned. He's saying probably about 10 to 15 homes that have been burned. Here's some video from earlier this evening, and evacuations according to Unified as of right now, all homes south of Rose Canyon and west of 6400 West, and here are some neighborhoods, so listen up if you're in these neighborhoods. You need to be out now because these are mandatory evacuations at Coyote Creek, New Maple Drive, White Hollow, Rose Canyon, Arnold Hollow, and these are about 1,200 homes, also in the High Country Estates area and the Cove. We also did speak to a few of those people who had been evacuated and also some who saw those homes burning.
There were at least 2 houses completely engulfed in flames. And it's all the way down the side of the mountain, right in everyone's backyards. And it doesn't really look like anybody's trying to stop it yet. There were a bunch of cul-de-sacs where nobody was even up there yet, so I just don't think they have enough people.
When I got home, I saw the fire all the way from I-80, and I didn't feel good about that. And when I got up to the house, my neighbor Gary knocked on my door, and he goes, "Hey, I think they're going to evacuate us out of here." I go, "Really?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I just pulled in the driveway, so I threw all my coolers and stuff and grabbed, documents and important memorabilia, enough to fit in the Jeep.
They basically just told us to get out.
And back out here to our live shot, you can see if we push up against this mountain, we think, just with the naked eye, we think that this looks like a house that's on fire right now. You can see crews are heading that way. We've seen a steady stream of fire crews and also police. Now, we're not certain, but we think that was a house that just went up in flames. Right now, also we should point out that Red Cross has a shelter open at Harriman High School, and Right now at about 9:30, they had 75 people that were there. They said about 15 families, and they have cots for 100 people. They have water, food, and volunteers, and they have additional shelters ready to go if need be. Harriman City right now is also reporting